From poverty to stardom, the Jimi Hendrix story. Early years and struggle. The rain-soaked streets of Seattle, Washington, in the 1940s and 50s offered little solace for a young boy named Johnny Allen Hendrix. Born on November 27, 1942, to Lucille Jeter and James Al Hendrix, his early life was a turbulent symphony of poverty, neglect, and instability. His parents' marriage was fraught with difficulties, marked by Al's military service during World War II and Lucille's struggles with alcoholism and a transient lifestyle. Johnny, later renamed James Marshall by his father, often found himself shuttled between relatives, experiencing a profound sense of rootlessness that would subtly shape his artistic soul. Home was rarely a haven. Al Hendrix, a landscape gardener, worked tirelessly but struggled to provide for his growing family, which eventually included four younger siblings, all of whom were eventually placed in foster care or with relatives due to the family's dire circumstances. Jimi, as he would come to be known, spent much of his childhood in the care of his grandmother, Nora Rose Moore, a woman of Cherokee descent who instilled in him a love for music and storytelling. He was a shy, introspective child, often retreating into his own world, observing the vibrant, yet often harsh, realities around him. Music, however, was an early and undeniable beacon. Even without formal instruments, Jimi found rhythm everywhere. He'd strum on a broomstick, mimicking guitar chords, or beat out rhythms on tabletops, his imagination transforming everyday objects into tools for his burgeoning musical expression. The sounds of blues, jazz, and rhythm and blues pouring from radios and jukeboxes in the neighborhood captivated him. Artists like B.B. King, Muddy Waters, and Robert Johnson became his silent mentors, their raw, emotive sounds speaking directly to his young, searching spirit. His first real guitar, a one-string ukulele he found in the trash, was a revelation. He quickly graduated to a $5 acoustic guitar bought from a neighbor, a battered instrument that became an extension of his body. With no lessons, Jimi taught himself, listening intently to records, trying to replicate the sounds he heard, and then, crucially, experimenting. He played left-handed, often on a right-handed guitar strung upside down, a unique approach that would later contribute to his distinctive style. His father, Al, though supportive of his son's musical passion, often worried about its practicality, urging him to find a more stable path. But for Jimi, music wasn't a choice. It was a necessity, a language through which he could articulate the emotions he struggled to express verbally. As a teenager, Jimi's musical obsession deepened. He spent countless hours practicing, his fingers developing a dexterity and feel that belied his lack of formal training. He joined his first bands, local Seattle outfits like the Rocking Kings and the Velvet Ones, playing at school dances, community centers, and small clubs. These early experiences, though humble, were invaluable. They taught him the dynamics of live performance, the art of improvisation, and the sheer joy of connecting with an audience, even a small one. He was often the most talented musician in the room, his raw talent already shining through, but recognition and financial stability remained distant dreams. His academic performance suffered as his focus shifted entirely to music. He dropped out of Garfield High School in his junior year, a decision that further strained his relationship with his father. The streets of Seattle, while providing a backdrop for his musical awakening, also exposed him to the darker side of life: petty crime, poverty, and the constant struggle for survival. He found himself in trouble with the law on a couple of occasions, once for riding in a stolen car, which led to a choice: prison or the army. In 1961, Jimi chose the latter, enlisting in the United States Army. He was assigned to the 101st Airborne Division and stationed at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, as a paratrooper. The military, with its rigid discipline and structured environment, was a stark contrast to his free-spirited nature. He found little joy in Army life, often clashing with superiors and finding solace only in his guitar, which he managed to bring with him. He formed a band with fellow soldier Billy Cox, called the King Casuals, playing at Army clubs and local juke joints. However, a parachute jump injury, which he claimed was a broken ankle, led to his honorable discharge after only 13 months of service. Some biographers suggest his discharge was more due to his unsuitability for military life and his constant focus on music. Regardless of the exact circumstances, his brief military stint marked the end of one chapter and the beginning of a relentless pursuit of his musical destiny. Discharged from the army, Jimi found himself back on the streets, but this time with a clearer sense of purpose. He knew his future lay in music, no matter the hardship. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with more struggle and countless rejections, but the fire within him, ignited by those early Seattle rains and the soulful sounds of the blues, burned brighter than ever. He packed his guitar and his meager belongings, ready to leave the Pacific Northwest behind and chase the elusive dream of making his mark on the world. If you're inspired by Jimi's early dedication despite overwhelming odds, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more untold stories of musical legends and their incredible journeys. Leaving Seattle behind, Jimi Hendrix embarked on a nomadic existence, a true musical journeyman. His first stop was Clarksville, Tennessee, where he reunited with his army friend Billy Cox. Together, they played in local clubs, honing their craft in the gritty, vibrant world of the Southern Chitlin circuit. This network of venues, primarily catering to African-American audiences, was a crucible for countless blues, R&B, and soul musicians. It was a tough, unforgiving environment, where musicians were expected to play for hours, often for meager pay, and adapt to diverse audiences. But it was also an unparalleled training ground. Jimi's unique style began to coalesce during this period. He was a sponge, absorbing the techniques and showmanship of the seasoned performers he encountered. He learned to play with his teeth, behind his back, and with his guitar upside down, not just as gimmicks, but as extensions of his expressive power. His stage presence, still raw, was already captivating. He wasn't just playing notes, he was wrestling with his instrument, coaxing out sounds that were both primal and sophisticated. His talent didn't go unnoticed. He soon found himself backing a succession of prominent R&B and soul acts. He played with the likes of Wilson Pickett, Sam Cooke, and Jackie Wilson, though often uncredited and underpaid. One of his most significant early gigs was with the Isley Brothers. For nearly a year, from 1964 to 1965, Jimi toured with the group, contributing his distinctive guitar work to their live performances and even some studio recordings. He was a sideman, expected to blend in, but his fiery solos and innovative techniques often threatened to overshadow the main act. The Isley Brothers, recognizing his immense talent but also his burgeoning individuality, eventually parted ways with him, a common occurrence for Jimi, as his unique style often clashed with the more structured demands of R&B bands. Next, he joined Little Richard's band, the Upsetters. Little Richard, the flamboyant pioneer of rock and roll, was a master showman, and Jimi learned invaluable lessons about stage presence and engaging an audience. However, the clash of two strong personalities was inevitable. Little Richard demanded conformity from his sidemen, while Jimi yearned for creative freedom. He was often fined for his wild stage antics and his elaborate outfits, which Little Richard deemed too flashy. The tension simmered, and after a year, Jimi was once again on his own, but richer for the experience, having absorbed the raw energy and theatricality that would later define his own performances. By 1966, Jimi had gravitated to New York City, the epicenter of the burgeoning counterculture and a melting pot of musical innovation. He settled in Greenwich Village, a bohemian haven where artists, poets, and musicians converged. Here, he found a more receptive audience for his experimental approach. He formed his own band, Jimi James and the Blue Flames, playing residencies at small clubs like the Café Wa and the Cheetah Club. It was in these intimate, smoky venues that Jimi truly began to unleash his full potential. He pushed the boundaries of the electric guitar, experimenting with feedback, distortion, and volume in ways that were revolutionary. His sound was raw, visceral, and unlike anything anyone had heard before. His performances were legendary even then. He would play for hours, improvising, bending notes, and creating a sonic landscape that was both beautiful and chaotic. Musicians and music lovers flocked to see him, drawn by the sheer power and originality of his playing. He was a force of nature, a guitar wizard conjuring sounds from another dimension. It was during one of these electrifying performances at the Café Wa that destiny intervened. Linda Keith, the girlfriend of Rolling Stones guitarist Keith Richards, was in the audience. She was immediately captivated by Jimi's raw talent and magnetic stage presence. Recognizing his genius, she tried to introduce him to various music industry figures, including Richards and Stone's manager Andrew Loog Oldham, but they failed to grasp the magnitude of what they were witnessing. Undeterred, Linda persisted, convinced that Jimi was a star waiting to explode. Her persistence paid off when she introduced Jimi to Chas Chandler, the bassist for The Animals, who was looking to transition into music management and production. Chandler, a seasoned musician with an ear for talent, was instantly blown away. He saw not just a guitar player, but a visionary, a performer who could redefine rock music. He offered Jimi a deal, move to London, and he would make him a star. For Jimi, who had spent years toiling in obscurity, playing for pennies, and constantly battling against the constraints of others' visions, this was the opportunity he had been waiting for. It was a leap of faith, a chance to finally break free and let his own musical voice soar. He accepted, and with a borrowed plane ticket and a heart full of hope, Jimi Hendrix prepared to cross the Atlantic, leaving behind the struggles of the Chitlin circuit and the anonymity of the village for the promise of a new beginning. What do you think was the most crucial turning point in Jimi's early career? His time on the Chitlin circuit, his stint with Little Richard, or his discovery by Linda Keith and Chas Chandler? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. The autumn of 1966 marked a pivotal moment in music history. Jimi Hendrix arrived in London, a city pulsating with the vibrant energy of the swinging 60s. Chas Chandler, true to his word, wasted no time. He immediately set about forming a band around Jimi, one that could match his explosive talent and unconventional vision. He recruited Noel Redding, a guitarist, to play bass, and Mitch Mitchell, a jazz-influenced drummer, to complete the trio. Thus, the Jimi Hendrix Experience was born. Their first rehearsals were electric. Jimi's playing was unlike anything Redding or Mitchell had ever encountered. He pushed them, challenged them, and together, they forged a sound that was both tight and wildly improvisational. Chandler, with his industry connections, quickly secured gigs for the band. Their debut performance was at the Bag O' Nails Club, and the impact was immediate and profound. Word spread like wildfire through London's music scene. Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, Pete Townsend, and members of the Beatles and the Rolling Stones all came to witness the phenomenon. They were mesmerized, humbled, and in some cases, intimidated by Jimi's sheer virtuosity and audacious stage presence. Clapton, then considered the reigning guitar god, famously stood in awe, reportedly asking, "Is he really that good?" The answer was a resounding yes. The Experience quickly became the hottest act in London. Their early singles, Hey Joe, Purple Haze, and The Wind Cries Mary, rocketed up the charts, showcasing Jimi's innovative guitar work, psychedelic lyrics, and powerful vocals. Hey Joe, with its distinctive opening riff and bluesy swagger, introduced the world to Jimi's unique blend of blues, rock, and nascent psychedelia. Purple Haze was a sonic explosion, a swirling vortex of feedback and distortion that became an anthem for the burgeoning psychedelic movement. The Wind Cries Mary revealed a more melodic, introspective side, demonstrating his versatility as a songwriter and musician. Jimi's stage presence was as revolutionary as his sound. He didn't just play the guitar, he performed with it, making it an extension of his body and soul. He played with his teeth, behind his back, between his legs, and even set it on fire, famously at the Monterey Pop Festival later that year. These were not mere stunts. They were expressions of his boundless energy and his desire to push the boundaries of performance. He was a shaman, a sorcerer, conjuring sounds and emotions that transcended traditional rock and roll. His fashion sense, too, was iconic, flamboyant, colorful, and utterly unique, reflecting the psychedelic aesthetic of the era. The Experience's debut album, Are You Experienced?, released in May 1967, was a landmark recording. It was a sonic tapestry of blues, rock, and psychedelic experimentation, featuring tracks like Foxy Lady, Manic Depression, and the title track. The album was a commercial and critical success, solidifying Jimi's status as a musical innovator. It wasn't just the guitar playing. It was the entire sonic landscape he created, the innovative use of studio effects, the dynamic interplay between the band members, and the sheer audacity of his musical vision. Jimi's impact on the British music scene was immense. He inspired a generation of guitarists and musicians to rethink what was possible with the electric guitar. He showed them that the instrument could be a tool for limitless expression, capable of producing sounds that were previously unimaginable. His influence was not just technical, it was philosophical. He embodied the spirit of artistic freedom and rebellion that defined the counterculture. Despite the whirlwind of success, Jimi remained grounded, though the pressures of fame and constant touring began to take their toll. He was a perfectionist in the studio, constantly striving for new sounds and pushing the boundaries of recording technology. His creative vision was relentless, and he often worked for days on end, meticulously crafting his sonic masterpieces. The London period was a supernova, a brief but incredibly intense burst of creativity and recognition that launched Jimi Hendrix onto the global stage. He arrived a struggling sideman and left a superstar, having irrevocably altered the course of rock music. The world was now ready for the full force of his genius, and his journey was just beginning to reach its stratospheric heights. If you're enjoying this deep dive into Jimi's revolutionary impact, please hit the like button to show your support and help us share his incredible story with more music lovers. Having conquered London, the Jimi Hendrix Experience set their sights on America. Their return to the United States in June 1967 was nothing short of a triumphant homecoming, cemented by their legendary performance at the Monterey International Pop Festival. It was here, before a massive American audience, that Jimi truly introduced himself to his homeland. His incendiary set, culminating in the ritualistic burning of his Fender Stratocaster during Wild Thing, became one of the most iconic moments in rock history. It was a visceral, unforgettable act of musical sacrifice and showmanship that instantly elevated him to superstar status in the U.S. The performance was a revelation, showcasing his unparalleled guitar wizardry, his raw energy, and his captivating stage presence. The success of Are You experienced in the U.S., combined with the Monterey buzz, propelled the Experience into the stratosphere. They embarked on extensive tours, playing to sold-out crowds across the country. Jimi's live performances were legendary, a fusion of blues, rock, psychedelia, and pure improvisation. Each show was a unique experience, a sonic journey guided by his masterful command of the guitar and his boundless creativity. In December 1967, they released their second album, Axis, Bold as Love. While perhaps less commercially impactful than its predecessor, it showcased a more refined and experimental side of Jimi's songwriting and production. Tracks like Little Wing, Castles Made of Sand, and Bold as Love demonstrated his growing lyrical depth and his ability to craft intricate, melodic compositions alongside his signature heavy rock sound. The album further cemented his reputation as a visionary artist, unafraid to explore new sonic territories. However, it was Electric Ladyland, released in October 1968, that truly represented the pinnacle of the Jimi Hendrix Experience's studio output and Jimi's artistic ambition. A sprawling double album, it was a masterpiece of psychedelic rock, blues, and funk, pushing the boundaries of studio recording and production. Tracks like Voodoo Child, Slight Return, Crosstown Traffic, Gypsy Eyes, and his iconic cover of Bob Dylan's All Along the Watchtower showcased his incredible versatility and his ability to weave complex musical narratives. Voodoo Child, Slight Return became a cornerstone of his live performances, a blues rock epic that allowed him to unleash his full improvisational power. All Along the Watchtower remains arguably the definitive version of the song, a testament to Jimi's ability to reinterpret and elevate existing material. The recording sessions for Electric Ladyland were famously intense and often chaotic. Jimi, a perfectionist, spent countless hours in the studio, experimenting with different takes, effects, and arrangements. This dedication, while yielding a masterpiece, also led to tensions within the band, particularly with Noel Redding, who felt increasingly sidelined by Jimi's expansive vision and his tendency to bring in other musicians. The pressures of fame, constant touring, and creative demands began to weigh heavily on Jimi. He sought solace in drugs, which, while initially seen as a creative stimulant by some, gradually became a destructive force. By 1969, the Jimi Hendrix experience was nearing its end. The internal conflicts, exhaustion, and Jimi's desire for new musical directions led to their dissolution. However, before their official breakup, Jimi delivered another defining performance at the Woodstock Music and Art Fair in August 1969. Headlining the final day, he took the stage with a new, temporary lineup he called Gypsy Sun and Rainbows. His rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner, a searing, feedback-laden improvisation that mimicked the sounds of bombs and machine guns, became an anti-war anthem and a powerful cultural statement. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated genius, a testament to his ability to channel the zeitgeist through his guitar. Following Woodstock, Jimi formed a new power trio, Band of Gypsies, with his old Army friend Billy Cox on bass and Buddy Miles on drums. This short-lived but influential group allowed Jimi to explore more funk and R&B influences, culminating in a legendary live album recorded at the Fillmore East on New Year's Eve 1969 and New Year's Day 1970. The Band of Gypsies showcased a grittier, more soulful side of Jimi, proving he was constantly evolving. Throughout this period of immense success and creative output, Jimi also realized a long-held dream, building his own recording studio. Electric Lady Studios in New York City, designed by architect John Storick, became his sanctuary, a place where he could freely experiment and record without the constraints of commercial studios. It was a testament to his vision and his commitment to pushing the boundaries of music production. Jimi Hendrix had reached the pinnacle of rock stardom, a global icon whose influence was undeniable. Yet, beneath the dazzling lights and adoring crowds, the pressures were immense. The constant demand for new material, the grueling touring schedule, the legal battles, and the personal struggles with addiction were taking their toll. The journey from poverty to peak stardom had been breathtaking, but the path ahead was becoming increasingly fraught. If you're captivated by Jimi's journey to the top and want to stay updated on more stories of musical greatness, make sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single upload. The year 1970 was a period of intense creative output and personal turmoil for Jimi Hendrix. He was constantly working, both in his newly opened Electric Lady Studios and on the road, trying to fulfill contractual obligations and explore new musical directions. He reformed the experience with Mitch Mitchell and Billy Cox, embarking on the Cry of Love tour. The shows were still electrifying, but there was an underlying weariness. Jimi was experimenting with new material, moving towards a more jazz and funk-infused sound, but the pressures were immense. He was exhausted, battling legal issues, and struggling with the increasing toll of drug use. His final major performance in the United States was at the Isle of Wight Festival in August 1970, where he played to an enormous crowd. Though his performance was still powerful, some noted a sense of fatigue. He then traveled to Europe for a series of dates, culminating in what would be his last public performance at the open-air Love and Peace Festival in Fehmarn, Germany, on September 6, 1970. The weather was terrible, the crowd was restless, and Jimi, visibly tired, still delivered a memorable set, ending with Voodoo Child, Slight Return. Just 12 days later, on September 18, 1970, Jimi Hendrix tragically died in London at the age of 27. The official cause of death was aspiration of vomit due to barbiturate intoxication. The news sent shockwaves through the music world, leaving fans and fellow musicians devastated. The world had lost one of its brightest stars, a true innovator who had barely begun to explore the full extent of his musical genius. His death, alongside those of other rock icons like Janis Joplin and Jim Morrison, cemented the tragic 27 Club legend. In the immediate aftermath of his death, the music world grappled with the void he left behind. However, his influence only grew. Posthumous releases of unreleased material, live recordings, and studio outtakes continued to emerge, revealing the depth and breadth of his creative output. Albums like The Cry of Love, 1971, and Rainbow Bridge, 1971, offered glimpses into the direction his music was heading, showcasing his continued evolution. Jimi Hendrix's legacy is immeasurable. He redefined the electric guitar, transforming it from a mere instrument into a voice capable of expressing the most profound human emotions. He pioneered the use of feedback, distortion, and the wah-wah pedal as integral parts of musical expression, not just effects. His innovative techniques, his boundless creativity, and his fearless experimentation opened up entirely new sonic landscapes for generations of musicians. Every rock guitarist who followed him, from Eddie Van Halen to John Frusciante, owes a debt to Jimi's groundbreaking work. Beyond his technical prowess, Jimi was a cultural icon. His flamboyant style, his psychedelic imagery, and his rebellious spirit perfectly encapsulated the counterculture movement of the 1960s. He was a symbol of freedom, individuality, and artistic expression. His performance of the Star-Spangled Banner at Woodstock remains one of the most powerful political statements ever made through music, a searing commentary on the Vietnam War and a testament to music's ability to reflect and shape society. His music continues to resonate with new generations. His songs are timeless, his solos are legendary, and his spirit of innovation remains an inspiration. He transcended genres, blending blues, rock, soul, and jazz into a unique, cohesive sound that was entirely his own. He showed the world that music could be a spiritual experience, a journey into the unknown, a powerful force for change and self-discovery. From the impoverished streets of Seattle to the global stage, Jimi Hendrix's journey was a testament to raw talent, relentless perseverance, and an unyielding passion for music. He faced immense struggles, battled personal demons, and defied expectations, ultimately leaving an indelible mark on the fabric of popular culture. Though his life was tragically cut short, his music and his spirit live on, ensuring his immortality. He remains, unequivocally, the greatest electric guitarist of all time, a true visionary whose legacy continues to inspire, challenge, and move us. His story is a powerful reminder that even from the humblest beginnings, extraordinary genius can emerge and forever change the world. What aspects of Jimi Hendrix's legacy do you find most impactful, and how do you think his music continues to influence artists today? Share your thoughts and engage with us in the comments section below.